Hello everyone. Welcome back to our little studio. Today was supposed to be a day when I was going to be teaching about dies and die cutting machines and that sort of thing, but I'm not up to it. So we'll have to put that off until after we get more warm weather and I feel a little bit better. I'm also afraid that Saturday's video is going to be different. It may even be a continuation of the one I'm starting today. And tomorrow's video might be late. I'm just letting you know this stuff in advance because I haven't been doing well with the cold that we're going through. My breathing is really bad. My oxygen levels are really low. I'm doing the best I can, but I've had to put off doing a lot of things that I really wanted to do. But you can see I have a little bit of a mess here in front of me. I am going to be doing something. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a card. I'm going to make a fun fold card. And I'm going to include things like some foil. And I'm not using I don't have a glitter foil machine, whatever they call them. I don't have one of those. I do have a laminator. And I will be using that for some foiling. And I will be showing you how to foil without laminator. And with nothing but, glue and foil. This is deco foil, or a version thereof, which means that it can be used with glue and it'll stick to it and pull off and you'll be able to foil things. Anyway, we'll get to that later on. I've got a sheet printed that is for sentiments, and I've got some hearts and some little flowers and stuff. I have a whole bunch of ephemera. They are actually stickers that we made, must be 6 months ago now. We were playing with our Cricut and trying to figure that out, and Gary was making me stickers and all kinds of things for my cards and my journals that I was kind of getting into more. Got a bunch of those, and I'm going to show you how to use those and put them onto your cards without just sticking them on, and use them as actual ephemera, make them into something more than they are as stickers. I'm going to be using different cards and cardstocks, and I'm going to be showing you how to make. Now, I originally was going to make an 8 by 8 inch card because I like big cards, but I think I'm going to do an 8.5 by 8.5 inch card. And that means I've got more area to fill. You'll see as we go along how I cut to make an 8.5 by 8.5 inch card, because obviously I don't have 8.5 by 17 inch long paper, and you have to know how to piece it. And at the end, after the card is all done, I'll show you how to make an envelope to fit any card you've got, how you can make your own envelopes, and what to do to do that. So that's going to be, it's going to be a long, not really a long session necessarily. I'll try to keep each one of them to less than a half an hour, but it could take several videos for us to finish this particular card. Handmade cards don't necessarily put together really quickly. I know if you're watching different card makers that you probably have seen, they go together really fast. But it depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it, the videoing and the editing especially. So I think that's about all I needed to say in the introduction. I have cardstock, I have stickers, I keep calling them labels, they're not, they're just stickers. And I have foil, and I have a cutter, and I have the laminator over to the side here. I'm not going to be using dies, and I'm not going to use these stamps in this one because I don't feel I need to. But I am going to be showing you several little techniques and how to make yourself a nice fun fold card. All right, I will get Gary to shut this off, and we'll get started organizing things, and then I'll come back and we'll get started on the actual card and maybe get the base made today. Okay, see you in a bit. What I wanted to do first off was show you what my idea is for this card. I've just got a piece of scrap cardstock that I printed on both sides, and it didn't work the way I wanted it. Anyway, let's just ignore that. So what I want to make as fun card is I want to make a card that is square, so it's going to be 8.5 by 8.5, but it's going to have sort of, now if it doesn't end up square, just ignore it. I'm not very good at drawing. Anyway, it's kind of square. It's going to be kind of like this and this. Am I getting square? Let's try and get square. Okay, so we're going to pretend that's the back, because the front, I actually want the front lower. So the front part is going to come down lower here. So let me just see if I can make this look like what I really want it to do. So the back is going to be kind of like that. And the front is going to be like this, and then it's going to stand open like this. Okay, that's kind of what I want to do. Letting you in on like what's going on. So with this back part being taller, I'm going to be putting in some sort of ephemera, and I'm planning on using plants, flowers, and leaves and things like that that are going to go here on the front, on the very front, first off, and then behind that in this area, and then on the there's going to be a piece of acetate between the front and the back. It'll just be actually on the front, and then there'll be more behind here, and some maybe even on the back of the acetate. So that's kind of the plan. I hope we can get to at least close to what the plan is. So let's get started with actually making the 8.5 by 8.5 inch card. So the first thing we have to do is make it, and I want mine to be in black on the base, on the front part. But because my cardstock, my black cardstock is not that heavy, I'm going to use white cardstock for the basic part. So the black will be put on top of it to beef up the card so that when it stands, it actually stands nicely. Because it's going to have quite a bit of weight in having the flowers and what have you on the front. So I've got 2 sheets of cardstock, and they're 8.5 by 8.5. So what I need to do is measure and make an 8.5 by 8.5 plus an inch. So I actually need 9.5 by 9.5 because we need to have this for gluing them together. And that's how you end up with your card being the right size and actually foldable and all the rest of it. So I need to get this baby out. And I need to put this in and get out of the way, you. And here's 8, here's 8.5. So we want to make sure that that's 8.5. And actually, I think I should, just to make sure the cardstock is actually 8.5. Just measure it. Yeah, it looks like this is decent cardstock. It's actually pretty true to 8.5. That looks like it's pretty good. So, okay, 8.5 measured. Lay down. No, 9.5. Almost. Almost. I bet you were saying to me, no, 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 don't cut it there. Thank you. Thank you for yelling at me. I did hear you through this camera. All right, 9.5. That can be used for something in some other project, but not in this one. And then 9.5. Get back out of the way. 9.5. Push it up against the edge so it's 9.5, not 9 and whatever you were trying to do to me. There. Okay. Now, I do need my board for this. I was going to try and do this with all the sort of general tools, but I think for today I just really need to work with what I've got to try and make my life a little easier. So we go on the 8.5 mark and we just score down. Now all you're doing is just making a mark. You're not cutting or anything like that. It's just so it makes it easier to bend and so the cardstock doesn't rip. You make tears. And then you're just gonna kind of bend that along and flatten it down a bit. Then we'll do the other, and we'll do 8.5. And we fold it. And that's it for that part. Now what happens is these two overlap each other like this. So that your card folds like that. And that's a huge card, by the way. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut from the top to make our holes in it. And we have to watch how we cut the back and how we cut the front. But I'll show you all about that. We cut the back first, and then we open it and cut the front a little bit further down. Anyway, I'll show you how to do that in a couple of minutes. In the meantime, we need to press this down a little bit harder. Being uncooperative today. No, I don't want to do that. Okay, get down. Okay, that's better. The better you do this now, the easier it's going to be later when you're trying to actually work with the card. Okay, so they go kind of opposite to each other like this, and they fit inside. I don't know if you can see this. They kind of fit inside each other. So you got one wrapping around the back of the card and one on the inside of the card, and we can cover those up later. Okay. Oh, glue disappeared. Here it is. Okay. Oh my. All right. Glue gunk. Nice. So put glue on. Now, because this is, you know, a card and you want it to stay together, pardon me. A reasonable amount of glue on. Don't overly glue it though, because you'll have glue leaking all over the place, and you won't like that either, because it kind of gets onto the other parts of the card, and yeah. Oh yeah, I have to do this side too. We kind of have to do them both. Well, we don't have to, but it's just as easy to do them at the same time, get the glue onto them at the same time. I'm very brave today not doing this with my glue gloves. They're sitting off to the side there staring at me, saying, yoo-hoo, glue gloves. All right, now, they sit one inside the other like this. Line them up, bend them over, press them down. Make sure you press them really good. And, you know, if they don't quite line up on the edge, mine happen to not, of course, not quite on one part, you can just cut that off later. Because that is going to be the sort of bottom of your card. So I don't know if you can see that clearly, but that's how the card's going to sit up. So we're just making sure that's glued properly. Now, I am going to put the black onto this before I cut. And I know that that may feel like a waste of it, but that way I'm not trying to fit the black into the areas. It's cut at the same time. So now I need 8.5 by 8.5 in the black. So we haul out the cutter again. We'll just set that aside to dry. And we need, and we need 2 of the black. Now this one has a little bit of bend on the corner, but it doesn't matter because, you know, we're going to cut that corner off. All right, now we really do need 8.5 by 8.5. So we go 8.5. It's funny, I've marked the 8.5. I did that because I was having trouble with some paper that I wasn't being able to see where that 8.5 was exactly. And then I'm going to move you down. And then we do this one at 8.5. There, make sure it's even, make sure it's straight, and actually at 8.5. There. Okay, we've got those two. Now, this can go together in a couple of ways. You can just use tape, or you can actually glue it. And I'm going to glue it because we're going to be cutting it. And if I just use tape, it's going to be just around the edges rather than all over on the inside. But if I cut it, if I glue it, I should say, then it's going to be secured on the whole thing. And then we'll get into figuring out cutting. So I'm going to put the glue onto this part. This is going to be my front of the card. Now I could have turned it over and used the other side as the front and covered up that join, but I'm going to leave the join on the back. I don't really mind it. When you're making big cards like this, I mean, there are things that exist on the cards because you're working with a set size of paper, and unlike big manufacturing companies, you know, you can't just go and get a bigger, longer piece. You have to work with what we've got, and I think it kind of gives it more of that. If you leave a few things like, you know, the seam on the back. All right, let's just try and get you to sit nice, please. Okay. Well, it's just deciding that it's just not going to sit nice. Come on, I don't have time for this. The glue is drying. Don't do this. Come over. Okay, did we get it this time? We got it. Okay. Push it down, turn it over, push it down. All right. So already the front is really quite nice and heavy and going to stand up nicely. Then where we put the other black is not on the back, but on the inside here. So I'm going to open the card as best I can without wrecking it. And I'm going to put glue all on the inside, and we're going to put the second piece of black. And then I think what we'll do is we'll kind of trim it all to sides, make sure that it's all even around the sides and bottom and all that, before we start trying to cut the centers out and do all that. But sometimes these bottles, I mean, I love that this bottle doesn't squirt out a huge amount of glue, but sometimes it's like, oh, please, just get me more glue this time. But, you know, you can't have it both ways. Well, you can if you move it into a glue thing, pan, and all that stuff. I can't be bothered. Then you have to pour what's left over back into the thing, and ain't me. There, okay. Move it in. Stuff that in there. There. Alrighty. So now we've got black and black. So our front and our back are both black. So when it stands up and we've cut this out, you'll see the black of the back of the card, and you'll see black on the front.
Do you want me to sit on that?
No, it's fine. It's fine. Sitting on it is, you know, not necessary.
Could stomp on it.
Could stomp on
I
it.
got number 12 feet. So
You do.
and lots of weight.
Lots of weight. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good. All right. What do we want the card to look like? I'm just going to take cardstock that I had. All this stack, move it over there. So what do we want this card to look like? Well, we want it to be cut with a middle. We don't want huge edge. We want enough that it keeps the card stable. We're going to have a reasonable piece here because we need to put stuff on two sides. We're going to put stuff on the front and the back. Then we need this on the back to be a little bit longer. I'm going to get my ruler because I would like the sides to be the same. I'm just right now, I'm just sort of judging. Can you see that? Can you see me judging? I'm very judgmental right now. So what I'm looking at is this is 2 inches. And I think that's too wide because it doesn't give me, if you move this to 6.5 and 2, it doesn't give me very much in the middle to actually put flowers and stuff. It does give me a nice edge to put things on the edge if I want to. You know, I think I'm going to put it at the 2. So I'm going to mark 2 here, and I'm going to mark 6.5 here, because that would be, you know, 8.5 minus 2. So I'm going to mark that, and then I'll mark a bit down here. And this gives me an idea of where the lines, where I should be cutting. And then Now the next thing is, how high do I want it? And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, maybe I want it like 3 inches off from the bottom. I've got to trim this first, but we can do a bit of measuring here. Maybe I should trim first, okay? Yeah, let's trim. Okay. Because we want to make sure everybody's even before we start. And you can see here that it's not. So let's get the trimmer. That's what you're for. Alright, let's get the trimmer along the edge of the white. Come on. Along the edge of the white. There you go. Okay. Even. Are yeah, I go uneven and push it so that it's not even. Okay. I'll take that piece off. There. And then where else do we have uneven? You know, this isn't too bad. There isn't a lot that's not even. There's a little bit of white showing here on the very, very edge of the front. And I don't know if I can actually successfully get that off without slipping something. But it didn't, where it is, it didn't interfere with my measurement, so. Oh, there, I took that little tiny sliver. All right, that looks better. I can still see a bit of white, but I'm not going to worry about it. I think we're going to leave it. Okay, I think that looks good. I mean, seeing as how it's a card that may or may not go out to anybody, you know, I might frame it and stick it on the wall, but I'll still show you how to make an envelope. Okay, so I'm thinking 3 inches up. Okay, yeah, I think 3 inches up. So we'll mark that there, and we'll mark that. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm having to lean forward to even see the ruler lines, so hopefully I'm getting this pretty even. And then, do we do another 3 inches up? Does it need, no, it doesn't need 3 inches. I think what we'll do is we'll measure from the bottom and we'll do 5 inches up. Yeah. I think that's a good idea. I'm going to turn it around and do it this way so I can see. So around there. Okay, so now we've got an idea of where we need to cut. So we're going to be cutting across here. Yeah. On the back. That's going to be on the inside, so we're going to have to measure that on the inside. And then we're going to be cutting across here on the front. And we don't want to cut the front before we cut the back. Because we cut the front, if we cut the front, then we cut the back, you know. So on the front, we're going to be cutting to here. This kind of should give you an idea of, you know, how you can make any card. Like, basically you just figure out what it is you want your card to look like, and then figure out what it is you need to cut, or where you need to cut. So when I'm cutting, I'm going to be cutting on the back part. I just want to cut to here. So my first cut is going to be on the front and back to this line, and across, and to that. And I'm going to actually use my knife rather than use my knife and ruler rather than using the cutter, because the cutter may not cut this thickness well. So we're going to be cutting to the back line only. And then to cut the rest of the front, we'll open the card up and just cut that piece out. Okay? We're going to, maybe if I do this way, I can see better what I'm doing. Now, when you're cutting things that are like this, you want a nice edge. Don't try and push and get the thing all in one go. Just make little cuts with your knife. Have a really sharp knife, you know, new blade, that kind of thing. Push up against and sort of lean your cutter against this so that it doesn't decide it wants to wander off onto whatever the grain is of your cardstock. or your paper that you're trying to cut. And it can take several passes to get through. But by the time you're done, you usually got a pretty decent cut line. And where the back is glued is where it's stuck right now. Here, that's why I'm going over it quite a bit, because the front, this part, is almost through. And it decided to wiggle a bit, so now let's see. Yeah, we're not quite through on this end here. Get it? Yeah, it's being really stubborn. Oh, I haven't even touched the back. Look at that. Haven't even touched it, so this could take a while. I was hoping we'd get through like sort of, one layer, one cut, and then we could take out the rest of the cuts. Is that it now? It's close. We're so close now. We're done. We're done. Yay. Okay. So that's one cut, so you can see that it's cut through the back, and that's why we glued here, is because we're cutting it, through and all that. Because of the angle I'm sitting at, this is more awkward than normally would be. I've got two stripes coming out down. Oh dear. Okay. Well, I'm through on some of it, not on the rest. I'll have to glue that in place. So if my head gets in your way, that little piece is bugging me now. Yep. There, almost. A little bit down here. Okay. All right, I'm going to pull out the scissors now. And use these little scissors to kind of nick in that little last bit. I wish this had come off on the part that I don't need, but yeah, it decided to come off on the wrong part, so. There. Now if we're doing this cross piece, I'm just going to cut it out with scissors because I think that'll be easier than trying to cut it out with a knife. Or maybe. Let's see. I want to make sure that it's down to that point. And then, yeah. Come on. Oh, gosh, that's tough. Little scissors don't like this. Okay. Help with the big scissors. No. Don't cut crooked. There are other ways of being able to do this, taking out these spots. But they're not necessarily easier or anything like that. Okay, so that's the back. So when I open it up, there's the back. Now we turn to the front. Sorry about that. Let's set that aside. See this little thing here? This can be used as a card by itself if you want to, or something else. Now, this has got this darn piece here. So I'm going to glue this a little bit in place before I do any more so that it doesn't get ripped off or bent or something stupid. By the time we decorate, you won't see that that's missing, but with it being white behind, you would definitely see it. Oh, okay. All right. So now we just take the scissors and cut this part. And I like these little scissors because they've got a nice sharp point. It does corners really good. I'm trying to follow my line that, you know, I drew for a reason. There. And then there. All right. And so that's the basis, or the base of the card. Now, I mean, I can smooth this all off and things like that, but that is the base. I don't know if you can, if I can hold that so you can actually see what it's going to look like. Can you see it? And that's how it's going to sit. Now we're going to decorate this with some nice bright flowers and things like that. So I think for this time we're going to stop this, become its own video, and then continue making this and continue this on Saturday, where we decorate the whole thing and I show you how to do some foiling and we do all sorts. Okay? All right, well, thank you for joining us today. You have a really wonderful rest of your day. Please like and subscribe and comment. Let us know. Let me know. Is this something you're enjoying watching? Is this something you want me to do? Or would you rather I was doing the more instructional things? As I said before, I don't know what you want if you don't tell me. Okay, we will close off for now, and I will see you next time.